because there are so many tactics and ways for you to find your pathway onto your farm. So this week, G'day everybody, Sam Marwood here from Cultivate Farms. Welcome to episode 71 of Cultivate Farms TV, where we're taking you behind the scenes of everything we're doing to make it possible for you to own a farm. We unpack lots of different topics as well to try and get you as excited as possible, and also start breaking down some of those mental barriers you have to this dream of owning a farm. We're saying it's possible. We think the biggest thing now holding you back is your attitude. It's what you're thinking. Because there are so many tactics and ways for you to find your pathway onto your farm. So this week, I'll give a bit of a weekly wrap up of some things we're working on. We also spend a lot of time, we're going to spend a lot of time unpacking what is stopping you from applying for a Cultivate Farms farm opportunity. We had some great discussions on social media this week about that. I want to unpack some farm transition options. I know a lot of you aren't sure of what's possible. So we'll give you a summary and also work through farm ownership opportunities. All this is written down as well. We'll turn this into a blog. All the text is available on the page right now. You can read ahead of what I'm going to be talking about. We're trying to make it as easy as possible and find many ways for you to get this information and just get onto your farm ownership pathway and onto your farm. So number of farming members, aspiring farmer members, we're up to 690, 10 more since our last update. So thank you very much to those new farmers who have joined up. We appreciate you heaps. We want more. We are greedy for more because more members we have, the more the agriculture industry is going to pay attention to what we're doing, the more retiring farmers are going to come and back you, and the more investors are going to get behind what we're doing. So please do sign up. It's very easy. There's free and paid membership. Paid membership helps us keep the doors open so we can keep finding opportunities. So we're asking you as aspiring farmers, if you want us to succeed and you want us to find you a farm, back us so we can spend time hunting and creating content and getting retiring farmers, investors inspired. There's heaps of other perks. You get way more than what you, in terms of value, than what you spend. So we highly recommend becoming a member. So a weekly update. What's happened this week? We met with the aspiring farmers who have found a retiring farmer who's willing to back them, probably through vendor finance, which is amazing. And so we're working through a game plan right now around getting the right people alongside them, right advisors, and some ideas on a pathway. And to make that work, a lot of it is also making sure they're thinking about how to make the retiring farmer a part of the whole process and feel valued, and make sure they know that, because I think that's a very key thing that sometimes we overlook. We're working with farmers who are interested in that mushroom farm in Gippsland, trying to unpack options for them and why they would take on this option, what financial matters they need to think through, what advisors they need to talk through, and how they could use this as really to kick off their mushrooming empire. Love having those sort of discussions, and we're working with those people through that option. We're in discussions with a dad who wants to back his son onto a farm. Love this option, and this is something you all should be thinking about as well. Can you get some money out of your olds onto your farm? Because that could be the leverage needed to get an investor or convince a retiring farmer to step back. If you can have access to some form of money, it is a great thing. So we've got a retiring farmer in our books that we haven't advertised, and they're not quite convinced to jump yet, but they had a really great chat last week. So I'm hoping to get my matchmaking skills going and get those two connected in the back end. So we'll let you know if that succeeds. We are nutting out the details of the Cultivator program. Love that name. This is the second running of that program where an investor is ready to back another Top Gun aspiring farmer. They backed Freeland Pork, so they want to go again. We're going to incubate 10 farmers. We're asking aspiring farmers to cover the costs of this program, but we're also seeking corporate sponsors to make it easier. This will happen over 6 months, and at least one farmer will be backed onto a farm of their dreams. Will hopefully wrangle a few more investors along the way. So it could be 2 or 3 farmers. So please spread the word. This is going to be happening. Think about whether you want to be on part of it. Send me your email. I'll put you on this mailing list to get you on board. But we know this is a world first, and we want to make sure it is appropriately recognized as such. Because this is why we set up Cultivate Farm, is to make it possible for you, if you're good enough to own a farm, the ball is now in your courts. If you want to prove you're the best, jump on this program and let's get you in front of an investor who can back you. Talking about investors, we'll be talking to another potential investor who's quite broad in their investment opportunity range in terms of location and types of farming. So we're trying to understand their situation better, and also they love our model and want to back next-gen farmers. So we're trying to build that relationship, and hopefully soon we'll be able to tell you about that. And we're thinking about writing a book. Everyone does it. We're thinking it could be something like how to go from zero to farmer. But we have been creating so much content over the last 3 years that we really need to compile it all and have it in one spot where you can sit there and read and get inspired and get all the tips and tactics and tricks on how you can get yourself in front of retiring farmers or investors, or get yourself farm ownership ready. So if anyone out there knows how to write a book and what we need to do to make that happen, or if anyone out there wants to help fund the development of that book or publish it or whatever, let us know. But that's definitely something in 2019 we'll try and unpack, because I think it's going to sell like hotcakes. What is stopping you from applying for a Cultivate Farms farm opportunity? We put a post up during the week with this very question, and it's probably one of the most engaging posts we've ever had. So the question was, we have a lot of farm opportunities, but a lot of our aspiring farmers aren't applying. What is stopping you from applying for our farm opportunities? So really we're trying to get at what can we be doing better, and what farms could be trying to find, which a lot of times we aren't in control of which farms we can find. We just take what we're given from these retiring farmers. But how can we present these farms so that you're more likely to go, oh, okay, that's actually something I should go for. So the responses were really encouraging and also really confronting as well. I guess we're sort of pulling apart the whole core of what Cultivate Farms is about. And we had probably, I don't know, it's like 80 or 100 comments and discussions from us and aspiring farmers. So thank you to those who did participate. And what we've done is dumped all of the responses, well, if not all, most of the responses and our responses to that in this post. We'll turn into a blog post as well. So you can scroll through and see what your peers are thinking in terms of what is stopping them jumping onto farm opportunities. Like that. We think they're amazing farm ownership opportunities, but some people are thinking they're not quite suited for them. We'll just unpack why that is, and also unpack some bigger questions and bigger thinking around maybe what's stopping you from applying for some of these farms. The ball's probably in our court. Probably the ball might be due with the farm itself, but also we think the ball is probably in your court as well around what are you thinking and what are you prepared to do to realise your farm ownership opportunities, dreams, sorry. And we think these opportunities can be a great way to get you there. Not all of them will be perfect, but we encourage you to think about them seriously and think about what is stopping you and get yourself prepared to jump on them. So I'll discuss some more general ideas, but read through the blog, read through the text below to see all the detailed responses and discussions around this topic. It's really enlightening. I love it, and hopefully we'll just keep sharing this post over and over and over and get this knowledge out of you, because it's helping us refine our business model as well and making sure we're giving you something you want as aspiring farmers. So the number one was location, and people aren't willing to move beyond a certain range, which is absolutely fine, and that's what you need to know is where will or won't you move to chase your dreams, but also know that the more restrictive you are, it lowers the chances of you finding your farm, i.e. there could be a ripper farm 200 k's away, but it's just out of your range. So what might you need to do to increase your range, or just be comfortable with that? But that seems to be one. We can't do much about that. We can only give farms that are available to us, but we'll keep trying to find farms across all of Australia. A few feedback comments were, it's not the perfect opportunity, and I guess what we're saying, there is no opportunity that's ever going to be perfect, let alone if that happens in the business world and in the normal world, but also in this farming opportunity world. There'll never be a perfect match. And I guess we want you to understand what you can live with and what you can't, but maybe be a bit more flexible in what you can live with, because we're after farm entrepreneurs here who can see maybe a blank slate or can see the kernel of a great opportunity. And we want you to jump onto that and build it and use these farms as a stepping stone to your farming empire. Can you get on this farm and have a crack at it? Maybe take a hit in your wage or take a hit in your income, because you know you're building your wealth and you're building your skills, but you're also connecting yourself to a community, which then can open up opportunities for you to other farms and other farmers to be able to grow your wealth and grow your skills and grow your empire. So that's the sort of mentality we want, is don't think that these farms are going to be perfect and match you perfectly, because that probably will never happen. And I hate the idea that you have regret. We don't want you to have any regret. If there's something there that you think you can have a crack at, we encourage you to have a go. A lot of people say that the farms are looked at on our website, you can't make a living off. And I think under certain models, you couldn't make a living off some of those farms. But there are so many models you can apply to these farms, and that's the mentality we want people to have. Again, being farm entrepreneurs, maybe there's a different crop or a different farming technique you can apply on these properties that can make them a viable opportunity. We're dealing with farmers who are of retirement age, are running out of energy, maybe running out of ability to implement these ideas, and they want you on board to scale the farm up. And that's, I guess, the mentality we want you to have. Think about these farms as a blank slate that you can build on and make profitable. But also, some of these farms probably can't make enough money, even if you do change the methods for you to live. But again, what we want you to think about this in your long-term vision. If you're not on a farm at the moment, you want to, jumping onto a farm that can maybe provide you half your income could be an amazing way to build your farming skills, build your wealth, build your network of farmers, to then use that as a basis to go find your next farm that you add to this and build your empire that way. Are you ready to be a farmer? There's weren't any of these specific comments, but it sort of made us think more broadly around these comments around maybe some people aren't ready to take the leap. It is a very tough thing to do, to be a farmer. Some people probably got the dream of it and love the idea of it, but an opportunity comes and puts in front of them. They're like, oh, actually, do I really want to? And that is absolutely fine. Self-awareness is a massive thing. Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to wake up early every day and plug away at this and be isolated in some cases and living in a place that maybe isn't the exact location you thought you'd live? Like, what are the things you're willing to sacrifice, I guess, or live with? And maybe the answer is none, and you don't want to be a farmer in reality. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. And I think we encourage you to make sure you are confident that this is what you want to have a crack at. You're going to have to sacrifice some things. This is what we're learning more and more. We've sacrificed a lot to start Cultivate Farms itself. Any business, any entrepreneur has to sacrifice something, and I think you need to think about that with these farm opportunities, that you'll have to go through some hard yards to make some of these viable, or you might have to, again, sacrifice location, income, farming approaches, working with a retiring farmer for a number of years before the farm transitions over to you as the sole manager. Some of these things just need to think about, are you willing to sacrifice some of these things so that you can reach this bigger term vision? That's the only reason why you'd sacrifice, is because you can see something bigger. So encouraging, what are you willing to sacrifice to make your dreams, your big long-term dreams happen? Apply anyway. So many people have double guessed what it is the retiring farmer wants. We've got an outline there, but who knows what a farmer or someone thinks once they've met you. Maybe they see your application, they think you're an absolute gun. You don't have this and this and this, but I like your style. I want to meet. And they meet you, you get along like a house on fire. Who knows what arrangements you could arrange after that. That's why we focus so much on relationships. It's about getting good people around a table who get along, the values aligned, can see the vision for the farm. And most times you can figure out a solution that's a win-win. So please do apply, even if you think it doesn't you're not qualified yourself. Again, this is about relationships. Some people are skeptical of partnership deals, and that's fair enough too. We've heard lots of stories of people being burnt from share farming arrangements, lease arrangements, etc. Again, that's why we focus so much on relationships. This is about matching people. And if you get the right people in a room, you can work through all the awkward discussions around people holding on to decisions too long or not making the right decision. You can work all that sort of stuff out and get the governance sorted. We can get the communication line sorted. So we really encourage relationships first. Next is to make sure you've got advisors helping you work through the arrangements, and then having those advisors on board ongoing as third-party independent advisors to help with any of these discussions ongoing. So we think those two things alone can really make a very, very high chance of there being a great arrangement. But you should be cautious, and you should make sure you've got the right people alongside you to ensure it works out. But there's no reason why it can't. And then lastly, and again, you can read all the responses below, but we want you to get inspired by these opportunities to go and find your own. So I want you to see our farm opportunities and go, wow, that's a ripper, and it's probably too far for me, or it's not big enough. We want you to be inspired that there are farmers out there of retirement age who want to back you onto their farm. They want to back kids that aren't their own onto the farm. They want to give you ownership, and they love the idea of their farm being transitioned to someone who loves it just as much as them, who are motivated and passionate and are going to look after it just as much as them. They're out there. So I want you to get encouraged to go find those farmers yourselves, to have your big black book of farmers' names on there that you are finding ways to get to know them, to bring them value, to open the door to discussion around transitioning ownership. So if nothing else, if all these opportunities you don't like, I want you to take away that there are farmers out there who could back you onto your farm. And if you want to pursue it, you could open up your own doors to those farmers and be living your dream. Love any more feedback on that as well. We know we're messing with people's lives. These are big life decisions, aren't they, to jump onto a farm like this? So you've got to be certain, and hopefully that's encouragement for you to think about what you need to make the leap, because we want to get more people for the right reasons making a leap, so we can get more and more opportunities. The more case studies we have, more farmers matched, it leads to more success breeds success. Farm transition options. We are often asked by aspiring farmers, retiring farmers, investors, what are the options available to me in terms of sharing ownership, in terms of transitioning ownership, in terms of starting off and moving to ensure that that next gen farmer has some form of equity in the business or land. And we got our mate Andrew Bomb from Progressive Ag up in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales, to pull this very question apart with us. And he's developed a really nice document, which again, we've copied and pasted here. All this information is free. Just gobble it up and get to know it. So we want you to have a quick read through this and get an understanding of the options available to you. I'm going to work through these 6 with you now. I won't go through all the details, just the high level. So please take the time to read the details and do your own Googling. We've struggled to find a consolidated list like this anywhere on the internet, and hopefully it's really valuable for you. So the 6 options we're going to work through are leasing, share farming, lease to buy options, vendor finance, collaborative farming, and lastly, joint venture / equity partnerships. So I guess before we get into the detail, there's 2 sort of areas for growth with these arrangements, and that's around capital growth from land ownership or profit from managing and operating the farm business. So that's sort of 2 core concepts to think about when looking at any of these options. And we want you to have ownership either in the land or the business, or in both. Either of those, or any combination of those, we think are great. But that core concept of ownership, we think, is the driver for why so many of you are following us and following your dreams, is that you want to have ownership. And these are different ways for you to get various forms of ownership. You just need to know what do you mean by ownership? Is it the land? Is it the business? Is it both? And mix and match these arrangements when you're just getting to know it, or even having discussions with retiring farmers or investors or friends or advisors. So leasing. So leasing is a great opportunity for anyone starting out, but we also know it's probably just as hard to get a lease as it is to buy a farm. Land is very, very hard to get access to. That's why relationships are so key, and you should be out there hunting for those opportunities. But let's say you do get an opportunity and someone's willing to lease. There's a number of different ways of doing it, but usually it's just a flat annual lease based on 5% of the value of the assets. But because farms are getting so expensive, that's probably really unrealistic more and more. So we're encouraging more farmers who are leasing out their land to think a bit more, think differently, I guess. And we're hearing more that people are doing flex lease is one term, where I guess both parties are sharing the risk. You pay a lower base rate, lease rate, but then based on unit prices, the seasonal conditions, etc., the amount goes up and down. So you're not only sharing the risk, but you're also sharing the rewards and making it more viable for the leasee to be able to pay back the lease. If you're just paying a flat rate and the season's terrible, you're probably going to make a loss in that lease, which then you think about what the ramifications for that. Maybe they're not going to be looking after the land as well as they should because money is tight. So that is one. So benefits around that. So opportunity to access land without needing the equity to purchase it, which is a great thing. So you can build your business rather than building the land wealth. You can increase the scale of an existing farm business. You can add a number of leases to your empire. I know Tim and Tegan, our co-founders, have done that many, many times. And some drawbacks is that the poor seasons really knock you about if you just have a flat lease rate. Expectations of return as a proportion of asset value can be unreasonable, as I talked about. Some land, I guess most land value in Australia is very, very high and maybe not reflective of what you can earn off the land. Next is share farming. This is very common in the dairy industry, but don't see why it can't be applied everywhere. These arrangements distribute profits from agricultural production between landowner and farm operator based on who bears the costs of production and risk. So it's similar in some ways to flex lease because both farm operator and landowner share seasonal and price risks that farm businesses face. I like the share farming option. There are some risks to it, so let's go through some of the benefits and risks. So the benefits: farm risk share between farm operator and landowner, which I think is a good thing. Opportunity to access land without needing equity to purchase it. I think that is a really good thing. And you can mix and match how the arrangement works. Maybe you can start buying into the land as part of the share farming deal. And you can increase the scale of an existing farm similar to leasing fairly rapidly. Drawbacks: there's potential conflict over who's going to be wearing what costs. So that's why we make sure that you've got advisors alongside you setting up these deals and also ongoing to help make sure that's clear, because money pulls apart a lot of relationships. And sometimes it's difficult to reach an agreement on those, on who bears what costs and who gets what profits. And then also the other one is making sure you get the right management strategy, because if there are people bearing disproportionate costs or disproportionate profits and someone managing there as well, it's also a source of disagreement. So again, get your advisors in, not only for this type of arrangement, for any arrangement. Lease to buy options. So negotiating an option for the lessee to buy the land at the end of a lease agreement can be a good way to manage the transition of land ownership between farm businesses that are winding up. So you can set the agreed sale price, say 5-10 years in advance, and you can use that time to build your equity through profit through the lease back to the landowner. So for the landowner, you get a benefit that you know that there's a clear pathway for you to eventually step out of the farm altogether, and you get to know that purchaser and love them probably, and just want to see them succeed. We've got a case study there, but the benefits are you can help manage the land ownership transition between farm businesses, provides incentives for potential new landowners to make a long-term investment in productivity improvements. I think that's a key one as well. If you're vested and you know this is going to be yours, you're going to look after the soil and the land. Existing landowners can manage succession planning more effectively. That's a good one as well. Succession is very tricky. Drawbacks: so landowners owners may be reluctant to commit to selling at a fixed price in the future, and so you're potentially foregoing any market increases in land values, but also alternatively, maybe land prices will go down if ever. So you're sort of mitigating that risk by knowing you're going to get a set return or set increase in value over time. And then also lessees run the risk of improving the land, but running the risk that maybe they don't actually have enough equity at the end. But lease to buy is great because it gives you the option to find those investors to back you. You come talk to us. If you've got an arrangement with the vendor that it'll be yours in 5 years, that's a great amount of time to get the right people beside you to go and buy it. Vendor finance in some ways similar to lease to buy, but the seller is the one who lends the rest of the money, i.e. they're the bank. So you as the buyer will need to probably pay at a higher rate than if you would at the bank, but that's because it's riskier. But the seller is probably going to be getting a higher return than if they just left the money in the bank, and probably more certainty as well if they're in the share market, and they're getting a return on an asset that they know a lot about. So there can be some benefits to having this. But my understanding is that the mortgage lies with the vendor up until the whole thing has been purchased, but a really great option, and we're encouraging more and more people to think like this. So it allows new entrants to purchase land when debt is unavailable. Usually they chuck in some money at the start to show they are in. Then it provides existing farmers with a return on their asset while they sell, so you can continue to get an income while you're stepping back from your farm. And the purchaser can invest in the land knowing that it's going to be theirs. So they'll put the energy and time and money into it. Drawbacks, the interest rate for you as a borrower will be higher than what you can get at a bank, but probably you can't get debt from the bank. You don't have enough savings. And for the vendor, you've got your assets tied up within a lending agreement for a long period. So if things change for you ongoing, your ability to be flexible is restricted. And the second last is collaborative farming. This is just an arrangement where two or more farming businesses pool resources and skills to improve their scale or efficiency. That, I think, is probably self-explanatory. It's just getting together and working through a deal. There's more details there, but I want to get to the last one, which is joint venture equity partnerships. And then we're promoting these a lot. We know this happens a lot in New Zealand. We think these are really, really cool. This is just where two parties or more own shares in entities. And the common way we're setting these up across the country is an entity owns the land and an entity owns the business. This is how we set up Freeland Pork, which is our first match with an investor. And that way you're clear that there's a company that owns the farm and owns the business, and then you're an employee, say aspiring farmer. You're the employer that gets paid a wage. It's really clear. Plus you also get a return on investment, given that you're invested in a shareholder. But it's just a bit more formal in that structure. I think it's a good one. So some of the benefits, the corporate structure improves governance and accountability, which we're all about. Having that structure and a process in place does make sure everyone's reporting and everyone knows their place. You can easily attract investors to jump into there, and also banks probably are more interested in something like this as well, to show you've got the structure and rigor. And also, business-minded people in a business in more of a formally structured entity. Great way for succession planning. So if you've got entity structures like this, it's relatively easy to bring shareholders in and out. And also it's clear around remuneration, i.e. whenever you work on the farm, you get paid. You're just an employee, the company pays you. But also the benefit is you own part of the company and you get a return. So there's drawbacks. So the farm operator probably does have some sacrifices some control over the farm, but you're always accountable to somebody, whether it's the bank or your parents. So you're never always going to have 100% control over your farm anyway. Shareholders may want to exit at any time, and they can, and that's a risk. And again, that's why we focus on relationships. So there are a bunch of farm transition ownership models. There's probably heaps more out there. We're trying to get all of them, but please read through that more in detail. I just wanted to go through that just so if you are listening on the podcast, you can get a feel for the different arrangements available. Any arrangement can work well and any arrangement can work poorly. Again, that's why we focus on relationships. Firstly, make sure you're matched with someone who you get along with, because a farm is a very big deal, almost like a marriage. But know that once you've been matched, there are plenty of people out there who have made similar arrangements for many different people across the country over many, many years. So the technical and legal arrangements are there. It's just knowing what you want and making sure you've got the right people. So getting inspired that there are arrangements available for you to get on your farm. And then lastly, we have 25 farm ownership options available to you right now in a database. Just go onto a website, you can see them all, you can one click and you apply, and you have your name and face in front of a retiring farmer who could make your dreams a reality, which is what we want. So please check them out, 25 farms available. Get in touch, we love hearing from you, and let's get you farming. Cheers.